Devi,
Excellent, thank you.
next one. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhya tamam. Okay, tamam pravaktakshmi anshuyave gnanam vignana sahitam yaj gnatva mokshase shubhata.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, because you're never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which sorry, I can't go down, Prabhu. Okay, yeah, now okay, see now. Which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence."
From up here. Text 2. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmayam Susukham Kartum Avyayam.
This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed.
Yes. Ashradata Dhanaha Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartamani.
Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world.
Okay, so we can have a little stop there. Let me just share the screen. Okay, good. So, chapter 9, today we're looking at, Krishna explains that the knowledge he's about to impart is the most confidential. So, the name of this chapter number 9 is the most confidential knowledge, as it illuminates the true position and nature of the soul in relation to God. So, there is a notion that belief in God is intellectually immature or naive. So, often people think, oh, you believe in God. We believe in science. They don't understand that God is the greatest scientist. Anyway, however, logical and rational analysis of the complexity and design and intricate engineering of this creation makes it plain that there must be some conscious intelligence behind it. To categorically deny this suggests a stubborn, irrational, illogical predisposition towards atheism. So in fact, those who don't believe in God, there is an issue because they believe that everything's come from a big bang, a big explosion, and this fantastic order. That is absolutely illogical, nonsensical, can't make any sense whatsoever. And yet, rational, so-called rational people believe it. A big bang will lead to such a fantastic order in this world. Thus, Krishna explains that the knowledge he's about to impart is state-specific. One must be non-envious, faithful to understand it. Faith is not opposed to knowledge. Just because you have faith, it doesn't mean you don't have to have knowledge. Knowledge is still important, but it's actually a prerequisite for receiving it. So what's a lesson to learn from this? Lesson 36, establish deep faith within our heart that Krishna is the supreme and our protector, guide, beloved. Faith is defined in Chaitanya Chaitamya Madhya Lila 22:62. Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. So Shraddha is very important. Shraddha is the beginning of devotional service. If you don't have faith, then it's very hard. It's very hard to live in this world without faith. One won't get out of bed if one didn't have faith that one will walk out of the house and not get run over. You won't do anything without faith. So faith is very, very important in mundane situations, let alone transcendental situations, such as accepting the eternity of the Lord and also our own eternity. So this is the first 3 verses of this chapter, are very, very interesting verses. So if there's no comments, we can move. I think then we're up to text 10. We can stop at that. Naniben, if you want to continue, you're welcome to.
Sure.
Okay, let me find it. There you go.
And the Big Bang Theory is so useless, isn't it? How can but people believe in that? Scientists, and it cannot be that organized if there's a Big Bang.
Funny you mentioned the scientists, because let me just see if I've got something I can just share. Yeah, I've got it. Let me just share this. Sorry. It's very interesting about the scientists, about the Big Bang Theory. The person who actually coined that name, the Big Bang Theory, is here. This is the guy. His name is Frederick Hoyle. And he coined it almost mockingly. Oh, the Big Bang Theory. He's a scientist himself, but he actually believed in God. And he coined the term Big Bang Theory. And it cottoned on, and as a scientist, he sort of had to play along. But look at what he's saying. We must now admit to ourselves that the probability of life arising by chance, by evolution, is the same probability of throwing 6 in dice 5 million consecutive times. So he's admitting life comes from life. It can't be from chance or evolution. And this one is even more interesting. Let's be scientifically honest with ourselves. The probability of having life arise to greater and greater complexity and organization by chance is the same probability of having a tornado tear through a junkyard and form out to the other end a Boeing 747. So he himself is not convinced at all by this Big Bang Theory. So interesting how the scientist who actually coined the term doesn't believe it. So yeah, it's a big contract, really. It's a big contract, Big Bang Theory. And foolishly, the schools teach it, and unfortunately, they brainwash the children from such a young age into something ridiculous. Whenever we go to schools, we do say to the children, question it, question everything, question me, question the science. How can an explosion lead to order? And they do understand. Hopefully they'll question it as well.
Okay. Thank you. Text 4. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matasthani sarva bhutani na chaham teshva avastitaha.
By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them.
Text 5. Nacha matsani bhutani pashya me yogam aishwaram bhuta bruna nacha bhutasto mamatma bhuta bhavanaha.
And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation. It's a bit contradictory.
Yathakashya stito nityam Vayu sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matstanitya upadaraya.
Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere, rest always in the sky, all created being rest in me.
Sorry, just before we carry on, this words is quite confusing, number 5, because he's saying everything is created does not rest in me, even though I have created it. The point is, although he's created it, it doesn't mean that he's entrapped within it. So he's the creator of the 3 modes of material nature, but it doesn't mean that he himself is under the control of the 3 modes of material nature. That's what this is saying.
I think text number 4 is about. Can you go to text 4? Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying he's through his unmanifest, he pervades the whole universe. All beings are in him, but I am not in them. So he's not trapped. This is the thing. He's not limited. He's not under control. He controls. This is basically what he's saying.
So this entire universe, it thinks that 3 modes of material nature. Is it what it is?
3 modes of material nature. Yes, it is under control of the 3 modes of material nature. Yes, even Satyalok is under the control of the mode of goodness. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What about the animals and lower beings?
Generally, mode of ignorance. But even animals are always under the mode of ignorance. But even under the mode of ignorance, there's 3 categories. There's some animals in the mode of goodness, like Gomata. Mode of passion is lions and tigers, and mode of ignorance is monkeys.
Yeah.
So
Text 7. Sarva bhutani konteya prakrutim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpadav vishrajami aham.
O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature. And at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again.
Text 8. Prakrutim swam avasthapya rujami punah punaha bhutagramam imam krishnam avasham prakruter vasata.
The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end.
Text 9. Nachamam tani karmani nibadhanti dhayanjaya udasina vad ashinam asaktam teshu karmashu.
O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as the neutral.
Text 10. Maya dyakshena prakritiha suyate cha saracharam etunanena konteya jagad viparivartate.
This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again.
Brilliant. So let's have a little stop there. And let's have a look at these 8 verses. 7 verses. Krishna begins to impart knowledge of his inconceivable relationship with the universe. Inconceivable because very hard for us to understand it and all living entities. While this knowledge gives an indication of the character, greatness, capacity of the Lord, it also exposes our inability to comprehend such matters through mundane logic and reason. An idea is conceived within the mind. A child is conceived within the womb. In other words, a concept is contained within something. However, since the qualities and characteristics of the Lord are unlimited, they cannot be contained within any boundaries. And thus God's activities and relationships are deemed inconceivable. So he creates boundaries. He creates this universe with all its intricate mechanisms to keep us within this universe. But it doesn't mean that he's bound by it. He's beyond it. Even though he's part of it, he's beyond it. So from this, we can learn that the Lord and his potencies are inconceivable. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established the principle of Achintya Bhede Bhede Tattva, inconceivable oneness and difference at the same time. For example, in text 4, he states, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. In text 5, he says, although I am everywhere, I am not part of the cosmic manifestation. This is hard to understand. This is difficult to understand. But the way I understand it is that even though he is the creator of all of us, all beings are in him, yet he's not limited by him being in us. He does extend himself to be with us as Paramatma. That is not a limiting factor. That is his omniscience. He's present everywhere. So again, just to re-emphasize that just because he's perceived throughout the universe, it doesn't mean he's limited by the universe. He's way beyond the universe. Just because he creates the varnas, the varnashram system, it doesn't mean that he's limited within the activities of varnashram. He's beyond it. He's beyond it. So, any questions or any comments? This isn't easy to understand, definitely.
I always find this hard to understand. That's why.
Yes.
I am not in them, but yet Krishna is in us as a Paramatma.
As Paramatma. But again, it's not limiting him. This is the point. It's the limitation factor.
Okay.
So, all beings are in me. That's fine. We are within him. But he's not limited by that. He's not limited by that. He, as Paramatma, he's with us as well. But as Paramatma, he's still omniscient. He's still aware of everybody. Whereas we are only aware of ourselves. So if he was limited, if he was not God, then he would be limited by what we understand. But because he's unlimited, he's not, because even we are part of him, he's not limited by that. Because he's omniscient, he's present everywhere, all-knowing.
All beings are in me. What does all beings are in me?
That basically means that everyone has a spiritual, everybody's a spiritual soul, just like he is a spiritual soul. So we're part of him. We're part of him.
Does that mean, Prabhu, that we all come from him?
Yes, that's exactly what it means. He's our creator. All beings are in me. But I'm not in them because he's not limited. He's unlimited. If he said, all beings are in me and I am in them, that would limit him.
Okay.
That would limit him. But he's unlimited. That's the point.
He's beyond everything, isn't it?
He's beyond everything. Yeah. Even though he can be perceived throughout the universe, still, He's not limited by the universe. He's not limited by the laws of the universe. This is the point. Achintya Bede Bede Tattva. He's inconceivable. Hard to understand. Hard to understand his position. But main thing we need to understand is he's beyond the limits, beyond our limits, beyond any limits. And in one sense, this is also to keep us grounded that, oh, I know God. No, nobody can know God. He's inconceivable. Very hard to know God. We can simply pray to him, my dear Lord. You can reveal whatever you think I can understand. I don't care. Even if I don't understand who you are, I still love you. I still am with you. I am trusting you. I have my faith in you. It's not a blind faith. It's faith out of understanding of the Gita, that he is inconceivable. He cannot be understood. And anybody who says, I know God, they actually don't know anything, because God is inconceivable. He's beyond mundane logic and reason. So that makes us humble, makes us grounded, that I will never say, I know God. I can't know God. He's not knowable. But it doesn't mean I can't love him. I love him because I've heard so much about him. I've heard so much of his qualities. I have a little inkling of who he is. He's very special. He's very sweet. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So we can stop there and let's chapter 9 Bhagavad Gita ki jai.